Here is the debut model from UniDesign Watch Co. It's called the Model 1. Now I have all three color variations to show side by side by side. We have Santorini blue, we have olive green, and we have stone gray. If I had to rank them, I would probably go blue, then green, then gray, but they all look very sharp. These are affordable sports pieces that are surprisingly hefty and do have some very nice details found throughout. So for those of you who do enjoy value-packed micro brands, I think this one will be right up your alley. Now let's start with some general dimensions and specifications. I'll place those numbers here on the screen. This is a 37 millimeter case, though with the generally square case shape and then this very solid, very hefty integrated style bracelet, I think this does wear larger than that dimension would suggest. So I feel that this wears closer to a 40 millimeter watch, and here it is next to a metal G-Shock square, just so you can see how similar they look visually. Now the thin 9.8 millimeter total height is very nice to see. I think it adds a level of refinement to this bold design. I don't think this watch would be as satisfying if it was taller. So that's nice to see. 7.25 inches is my wrist size for comparison's sake. And I think if you are looking for a diminutive wearing watch, maybe a 37 millimeter watch, I don't think this one is it. It does have more presence to it. So maybe you like this design, but are concerned that 37 millimeters just sounds too small. I wouldn't be concerned. I think this does very well on wrist. Again, more like a 40 millimeter in my eyes. Now the water resistance is 100 meters. The hexagonal crown is a thread down style, so you can get peace of mind knowing that you could take this in water if need be. The watch is mostly brushed, which I think is a good choice. Tony, the designer, was restrained with his use of polishing. It's going to be found on the chamfered bezel. It's also found on the case and the bracelet edges. And this small amount of polish adds some nice visual highlights that I think works well with this highly texturized dial. The pattern will be a repeating square form with the innermost edges ever so slightly rounded, very similar to the overall bezel of the watch. I've seen a lot of textured dials on various micro brands over the years, and I can say that this is easily one of the best that I have come across. It is very dimensional, it's dynamic, it's slightly reflective. I think that Tony has managed to create a great focal point, but one that's not too distracting or doesn't take away from the overall legibility of the dial. There will be flat spaces above and below the hand stack that is reserved for the silvered printing. So you will see UniDesign Watch Co. above the hands and then Model 1 and automatic below the hands. I think the text does disappear at times, and this to me reinforces the idea that the general focal point is the texture, it's the color, and it's not the specific text. Now the colors are sharp. The green is very light, it's more olive. The blue is slightly darker and it has a touch of teal to it. I think it looks really good. And then the gray is bright and it feels more cool than it does warm. There will be applied markers that are filled with superluminova. The hands are beveled and polished, and they're also filled with superluminova. Here's the lume shot. I think UniDesign Watch Co. has done a very nice job with the lume application. Going back to the hand design, these feel a little Omega derivative, at least to me, but the watch leans into, I think, the various inspiration sources. So this bezel reminds me of a G-Shock square. The case and the dial is Genta-esque, and the hands are Omega-like. I don't think it's super direct, but I definitely see AP, IWC, and Casio influences with this. Within the watch is the thin Japanese-made Miyota 9015. It will not be visible behind a textured steel case back. The top crystal is sapphire, and it does have a good application of anti-reflective treatment, which I think is always welcome, especially on a watch that has such an intricate and beautiful dial. Now, the retail price is $675. So, how much value does this offer? And do I think that this is worth it? Well, I would say that the fit and finish is good. The dial is very much above average. The loom is potent. The bracelet is extremely solid, very weighty. The visual presence of the piece is powerful, especially when you do a wrist roll in natural light. I like the movement choice of the 9015 here. I am very glad that it is not the thicker Seiko made NH35. But are there areas that I would like to see changed? Yeah, I think the bracelet links could be an area for improvement. They are connected with a friction pin, and I do prefer screw pins or a pin and tube system. I've just had better experiences with those styles. And then the only other item of note is some of the edges on the links are rather abrupt. So it looks great visually with the defined lines of different graining and reflection, but it is a little harsh. It's not going to hurt you, but it is something that I think is worth mentioning. The watch will come in this nice leather traveling case, as shown. It's a snap open enclosure, microfiber interior. And when I consider everything, the pros, the cons, the specs, I think this UniDesign Watch Co. Model 1 is really solid for the price. From the pictures I saw online before I got this in hand, I thought that I would enjoy it, but the in hand experience has been a lot better than I expected. It's definitely a fun piece. Now, it's available on UniDesign's website right now. It's available to ship right now. I'll link that below. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'm looking forward to reading them below. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you next time.